Let's take a deeper look into working with backgrounds with your PSD to HTML exports. Now, we're using dynamic pages, so what we've done is we've separated the content, be it that we have a footer, a header, and our individual page content, and this is dependent on each actual folder. Now, with dynamic height, what you're going to have to do is actually have a background per folder, and I mean this as in your footer will have to have its own individual background, and your header will have to have a background, and your individual content pages will also require backgrounds as well. This will ensure that your output looks exactly like your Photoshop document. Now, if we take a look at the design itself, you'll see that our actual width is 1100 pixels. This is important. What you want to consider is the size of your user screen. If your user has a screen that's 1280 wide and your document size is 2000 pixels, for example, a lot of your document will be clipped and it won't be visible in the output simply because the user screen is too small to handle it. So what you want to try to do is ensure that your Photoshop document is at least the size or a little bit smaller than your target screen. This will make sure that all your elements are visible in the output. Now, if we take a look at the output itself, and let's go back to our export. You'll see that we just zoomed to 75%. The reason why is I just want to emphasize exactly how backgrounds work in a bit more detail. Now, once we have our entire document, you'll see that it will reflect exactly how our design is. So our design cuts here, and let's just take a look at the index page. Now remember, dynamic height, it will clip the content where we've listed it. So our design itself, it spans the width of 1100. Now, because we have a document that's a specific width, what we can do is we can play with the align output. And I'll just show you that in a little bit more detail, which is right here. And we can actually align this, be it center, left, or right. So let's take a look at that in the output really quick. So if it was to be center, that would be center. And if it was to be aligned right, that would be aligned right. So this is dependent on how we actually use our left, center, and right in our align output. Now, if we take a look at the output, and let's just realign this left, what you're most likely going to want is the background to basically span the entire width of the screen, as well as compensate for users with slightly smaller or slightly larger screens. This is a task you can easily accomplish in your PSD file. So if we go back to the PSD, most likely now you want the background to span. So a typical action that a person might do is that they'll actually create a design that looks somewhat like this. So if we were to reveal all, you'll see that our actual design itself, it spans, the largest possible screen. So a lot of designs will encompass this, where they'll encompass the content within the design itself. Now, if we were to export this, we would get exactly what we see. So the document would start here. We would see no content until we reach the 1200 pixel. So basically, unless a user had a screen that was much larger than 1200 pixels, they would not see any content. So what we want to do is, if you have your background wider than your actual content area, and this is what you want to do, you can see our background spans outside of it. Basically, what you can do is change your canvas size to match, the region of your actual document. So ours was 1100, so we can basically go and change the canvas. And let's clip it. Oh, sorry, that was actually 1200, not 11. So now what will happen is that our actual background elements, they go outside of our Photoshop document, and this is very important. You actually want this to happen. Now in your output, if we were to hide overflow, basically we'll get the same result as if we had no background that was spanning outside the width. But now what we can do is we can remove hide overflow in the output, and let's see exactly how it exports. Once the export is complete, we can go ahead and take a look at our HTML5 output, or just refresh the page. Now you'll basically see that our background spans to the entire width of the actual page. Now if we were to go ahead and basically play with the align output with hide overflow disabled. So if we were to now align it to center or right, what we would get is this in our output. Let's just take a look. So this is with hide overflow disabled and with our content basically aligned to the left. So if we were to now reposition our content. So this is with our content now aligned center with hide overflow disabled. And let's take a look at our content aligned right. And this is with our content aligned right, again with hide overflow disabled.